Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa sallam in this room. First of all, actually I want to take forward the first appreciation to USIM to give the opportunity to An-Nur to present this topic. My speech from the committee, then Right. Okay. Now, okay, analysis center. Actually, started analysis center in 2000, which is the first degree as a CSR. Uh, we are supporting this every day. But then last year, we think that because well, we look at the activities, the CSR, all the basic activities is sponsored by Okay, next. Okay, this was topic number 4. Still, I have a long time. Myself, okay, I have a question. Okay, okay, right. Okay, about transforming communities through corporate Islamic social finance. This is very important part. Okay, those for the future leaders, to my colleague, all the professors. Actually, this is very important. Talking about what's the implication of managing Waqaf after you invest, make it grow, the asset backing of asset Waqaf asset, and then you get the high return. Next, what to do? Okay, we have a complete circle from the early stage, middle stage, and community. To be frank, currently we engage with one of entities to manage tadika, early education, penjagaan. And then last one actually we have a graveyard, Tuan An-Nur. So from the baby till, so this is our role. This is our, how to distribute the manfaat for this activity. Next, at the early stage, we have a nursery and kindergarten for the normal and also special needs. We cooperate with our centers. And then we also assist students with disabilities. Somewhere 2000, 2022, all the children actually together with their parents, right? With their family. What was happened? Do you think they are Hatam Al-Quran? No. They are very expert in PUBG, the legend. They are very expert until top level. But after post-COVID, what happens is actually they don't know how to read Al-Quran. They only can go to basic Surah Azim. Even Hatam, normally the anak kalau kasih orang kata baca yang Hatam dan Ya, almost with Waqf, we are collaborating with UTM. Actually, we collaborate. The project is actually talking about the module is actually talking about fund from An-Nur to buy the modular, and then this modular, we put project for me. So to make sure rather than we give cash every one time, this one actually every month, then we can sustain. Okay. Next, pusat Waqaf community. This one actually training center for swing and cut. Swing for especially for single mother, for woman, but then for haircut especially for men. So in to find the income, especially for haircut, because
form of maintenance of mosque, for example. So mungkin masjid in USIM, for example, they need an aircon or projector. They can apply the donation from Waqaf An-Nur. We are also giving the healthcare, especially for the cancer patients. We also run the da'wah because we have a so-called Islamic Information Center in Masjid Sultan Iskandar. Currently, alhamdulillah, we already sahadah to more than 50 mu'alaf. And we also run the JU or Jalinan Ukhwah. We go down to the kampung, we collaborate with Adon to give them a food bank, program, gotong royong, jahitan, and so on. We also give support to needy, especially for cost of living. For example, maybe you want to further study, but based on the family background, maybe you need a fund, so that actually we can give them support, but one time only, not every month. Okay. We also built a Hasnaf house because I forgot talking about the source of fund. Actually, other than the manfaat Waqaf, we are also managing the Wakalah zakat. We are also so-called what they call it, crowdfunding. We create crowdfunding. Okay, right. Next, please. Okay, talking about DN, we manage about 7 mosques. The latest one is actually Masjid An-Nur Bandar Tiram. So we call it as Masjid Institusi or institutional mosque, whereby the Imam Bilal appointed by Waqaf An-Nur, all the salary paid by Waqaf An-Nur. Part of the maintenance of mosque also paid by Waqaf An-Nur. So currently I think we have about 30 staff under Rangkaian Masjid managing the mosque. Actually, part of the mosque also they run their CSR activities because part of the fund actually or crowdfunding under mosque they also distribute to the public. We also have a crowdfunding for next, please. Senior Citizen Islamic Education Center, we call it Warga Emas. Actually very high demand currently in Malaysia. Those who pensioners or retiree, actually they are looking on this. So they want to go to the, because at the end of the day normally after pension dia tinggal 2 orang saja, suami isteri ataupun dia tinggal seorang. So dia serve hidupannya dengan member. So they are looking at this platform to fulfill dia rest of life lah, untuk kehidupan selepas pension ni. So actually they can enjoy in this perjalanan Warga Emas. We plan to build in Pasir Gudang, but then because the land issues, we plan to find another land to build this pusat perjalanan Warga Emas. Actually it's not strict like asrama, tidak. It's actually you can enjoy with your friend. You can go for what they call it shopping. You can go for what they call it because at a certain time only you have a so-called kuliah, like after subuh maybe around 11, then after that you can go for shopping and then back to the class, and then evening you can go for jogging, for example. So to make it their life happy lah. We don't want set like asrama, nanti stress. Bila stress nanti jadi macam-macam lah. Okay, the last one is actually we manage Pusara An-Nur. Pusara An-Nur is actually we use model like also Sakinah, very systematic graveyard. So you can number, we have a system, we have apps. For example, Waris want to see where is the location for your atok, for example. Oh, this number 546. This is numbers of graveyard for your atok. Okay. Sebenarnya tak ada kat sini. Talking back just now, managing harta wakaf, for example, investment for akhirat, to make sure mungkin Dr. Ashraf after this you want to assign part of your asset to wakaf An-Nur. After you bagi kubur, itulah nanti kubur you cerah, because we offer you investment for akhirat. Yeah. Anything else? I forgot the slide. This is the last one. Is it?
Long reserve or single 1.5%. Just really. Then, the percent will go up. Because percent net as the most part is better every day.
Next please. To take risk and fail is not a failure. To all future leaders here, I just want to share from Mohd Rashid Al-Maktoum, the Ruler of Dubai, to take risk and fail is not a failure. But it doesn't mean that I want you, lepas I fail pun tak apalah. Janganlah. To make sure your degree must be success lah. But in general, to take risk and fail is not a failure. Real failure is not taking any risk. So here, I just want to share with you, managing the Waqaf asset, especially in Malaysia, very challenging. Because what they call it, we don't have any special governance body. Like in Indonesia, you have a BWI, Badan Waqaf Indonesia. Yeah. But in Malaysia, actually, all the Waqaf managed by respective state under Majlis Agama Islam Negeri Johor. In Malaysia, we have about 14 states. I think around 11 actually, because like Penang, Melaka, and Wilayah combined under Agong. So just imagine the power of Waqaf actually under Majlis Agama Islam Negeri Johor, then they have their under Majlis Agama Islam Negeri, and they have their own enactment. So just imagine, very challenging. Then another thing is actually talking about Waqaf temporary, it's actually still very slow level. I can say the acceptance level is very slow. They are still thinking on the traditional method, talking about the property, masjid, hukum, Quran, zakat, and so on. Lucky Central, the shares is actually aimed Waqaf. One question from the public is actually, how come the Lucky Central become aimed Waqaf? Because they are providing the transport, the express to the Hanyai. Just imagine, you're thinking, still, I mean, you understand? So actually very challenging. But then, we take this word, take risk and fail is not a failure. Real failure is not taking any risk. Our risk is actually not only to Majlis Agama Islam Negeri, Majlis Agama Islam Negeri, because Waqaf An-Nur being a CLBG entity under SSM, we need to report every year to them. We're not allowed to do this, to do that. But for me, actually has proven, like University Al-Azhar, Howard University, Waqaf or endowment is actually one enabler. I disagree if you can say tool, but it's actually enabler to improve the economy. So hopefully my colleague from USIM or UNISBA, real failure is not taking any risk. Just take a risk, you create a Waqaf entity and exploit. So I think like in UNISBA and in Indonesia is easier because under WWE, my colleague said it's just get the so-called mutawali to get the fund and then another process to get the Nazir Khas, right? To refute to your student. So hopefully we can support, we can what do you call it? Waqaf become one of the enabler for economy, for the ummah, and also for the government. That's why we call it third sectoral economy or Islamic, social Islamic finance. But in terms of execution in Asian countries especially, is very, very low. So hopefully we can focus and take any risk to develop the Waqaf. I think that's all my presentation. Maybe still have time. I don't know if you have any Q&A. Any Q&A session? Okay, I open the Q&A session if you want. 1, 2, 3. Okay, sure. Yeah.
Wait.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Haji, for the presentation. You mentioned about the crowdfunding initiative within Waqaf An-Nur. Does this fall under activities regulated under SC or is it done internally as part of the fund raising activity?
Internally, through platform Tabung Masjid. Because under Waqaf An-Nur, we are not allowed to collect fundraising. We need to comply the requirement. So that's why we're using most to raise fund, funding, for example, for Tabung Banji or Palestine or Syria. Even I think last time we also assist crowdfunding for tsunami Aceh. So actually through most is actually internal. But then our target is actually to Karya Masjid, but also public, because when we spread through medsos, we believe that the outsider or outside from the Korea also distribute the crowdfunding.
Okay, so that is the first question.
Okay, how many questions do you have?
Follow-up question. Actually, it's on another note. From the presentation, we could see that we have a lot of initiative, and you have a lot of initiative regarding to Waqaf. So, may we know further how actually the monitoring in terms of, because you have partners, kan, masjid, clinics, and all other stakeholders. How is it being in terms of how is it promised and how is it being delivered, you need to do monitoring, right, with your stakeholders. And how is it being done in terms of if how Shariah audit and Shariah review or kind of monitoring that is happening? Because I could see your organization structure just now on how audit is being reported to your board and so on.
Okay. For internal management, we have a MCM or management committee meeting, and also management tender meeting. So talking about all the initiative, like clinic, for example, clinic Waqaf An-Nur, we have a committee, Jabatan Kesihatan Penyelaras, and also we have so-called KPI. KPI, but now they introduce OKR. So, for example, I think most implemented KPI. KPI actually, for example, targeted how much the first this year and how many patients our target. And for example, so actually this one reporting quarterly to the MCM committee because we have so-called agenda for reviewing or monitoring the KPI every single department. Just answer the question. Okay, talking about the Shariah. Currently, we only have a Shariah committee, but then in future we plan to have a Shariah audit. But currently we tumpang at Jabatan Audit. We buy the part of the scope is actually to audit the Shariah, so Shariah compliance. But then under Shariah committee itself is really very tough. We have a very so-called professional Shariah committee. One of it is actually Dr. Abdullah Jalil. So they are asking all our activity and even documentation. For example, Murabahah Tawaruk documentation. Actually, all the single document and activities thoroughly they go through thoroughly. So actually, to be frank with you, if nak board meeting ni, sometimes we can't sleep. We need to present to the investment committee, Shariah committee, tender committee, and auditors committee. Auditors committee, another committee that we think very tough because they asking all angle, including the Shariah. Even though we already have a Shariah committee, but auditors committee they are also asking about the Shariah compliance. So that's I think how they monitor our initiative or activities.
Okay, alright. So maybe we open to others. Please, Dr. Faisal from Maybank Indonesia.
Thank you, Tuan Mohd Bahrin. I'm glad to understand the experience in Malaysia. I may share a bit of my story or my experience in Indonesia. When the disaster happened in Indonesia, in any place, so the Badan Waqaf distribute the fund on the way of under the contract of card. But when people are looking at the fund came from the Badan Waqaf, so maybe just 2 or 5% from the card will be returned to the Badan Waqaf, because they are thinking this is the charity, why we should return back it to the government. And my other experience, when I was working in other bank, in microfinancing bank, one of the biggest microfinancing bank in Indonesia, the NPF is almost 0%. So we distribute, let's say we finance 1 million rupiah, around 250 ringgit for a group of small, medium enterprises. For the micro one, the NPF almost 0%. Let's say 0.5, maximum 1%. So there are two different, approach when we distribute as Waqaf fund, and they are thinking this is the Waqaf fund is for them. Another one is because of the banking perspective of financing approach. Do you think that banking to fund or to distribute to the public, I mean to the poor people, then it will come, let's say 100% or 99%, so we can, I mean, elaborate, we can develop that such a fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal. I think talking about collaboration, we already collaborate with Maybank Islamic, especially for product I-IECONS. So the fund actually from Waqaf An-Nur part to the Bank Islam, and then they are going to choose the candidates and all the risk assessment done by Bank Islam. So we need to say in terms of the monitoring is actually quite strict. But before that, I just want to share with you, talking about micro credit just now, even though the microfinance between 1,500 until 7,000, and then Murabahat around 7,000 to 20,000, but the NPL about 15%. 15%. Actually, the most important thing is mindset. Before we give the so-called Waro, we give so-called awareness to the customer. Even though the fund actually derived from a Waqaf fund, but then it's actually the responsibility. We train them, we give them awareness about why this fund is very important for the Ummah, not only for you. If they say they're talking about for you, I believe they're going not to repay. So actually we give them, we educate them in terms of awareness, in terms of marketing, in terms of financial awareness, how to manage fund. So that's why all these candidates, during the interview session, we actually quite strict also. So that's why one of the questions is actually, what your perception about the Waqaf fund? It's part of the education or awareness to them actually. So when they understood the purpose or the values or the objective, that's why the success rate of payment about 85%. The 15% because I think because dia sakit or die or or accident for example. But then this one actually covered under takaful. Then those will tak sakit, tak mati, tak apa, tapi they unable to pay because they are maybe very so-called terdesak hidup. That's what we try to manage through zakat under the perception still previous perception. This is a Waqaf fund what? So you should give me free what? This mindset is actually we need to change them. So I think hope answered your question, Doctor. But talking about the collaboration with bank, actually we already collaborate with Bank Islam, and coming actually we are going to collaborate with Bank Muamalat and Maybank, inshallah.
All right, thank you. Is there any question? Last question from the floor? Prof. Fauzias? Wait.
Thank you so much, Tuan Haji Bahrin. Congratulations anyway for the quite an expressive performance of the corporate Waqaf An-Nur. Cumanya I can see because consider me as an outsider. When I look at your corporate, because we corporate usually they have mission vision, but yours actually is very general. I'm not too sure of your focus actually, because anything under social finance, Islamic social finance, you will do it. But probably there is what they call some kind of branding that people know this, because I do not know, probably in Malaysia we have only, the Waqaf corporate is An-Nur only, An-Nur saja. So probably kita tak ada, we cannot compare. Probably from Indonesia we can compare. So I can see nanti we have more Waqaf, corporate Waqaf in other state, because I do not know why there could be a reason why they don't what they call do it, or meaning yalah, maksudnya
maybe they have
kenapa tak ada
reason.
satu kan. Tapi bila dah banyak nanti we want to know Waqaf An-Nur ni sebenarnya buat aktiviti apa. Because you tanya saya anything social finance, your picture dari semua about semua about the traditional, and also you also create the unit trust. But of course there are certain vision of the arwah your arwah Tan Sri Ali. Dia semua nampaknya semua institution dia nak cover kan, especially the banking. Tapi I cannot see the banking, because the question just now was asked about the credit, the credit role in term of the Kad Al-Hasan for example. So itu tak nampak juga. Tapi kalau if somebody were to ask me Waqaf An-Nur buat apa, I'm not too sure, because only Waqaf which actually incorporate all the Islamic social finance activity. Probably there could be a kind of blending, other than the corporate Waqaf. Because corporate tu dia memang nampak corporate, tapi what actually is the corporate thing. And then yesterday Ustaz lah, Dr. Abdullah kan, dia cakap about independent Waqaf. So but we are used to the corporate Waqaf. So do you think that you are in line with the independent Waqaf rather than corporate Waqaf, whereby the corporate Waqaf is already a brand for An-Nur, but then of course the activity I don't see yet. Itu saja, melalut sikit. Assalamualaikum. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Prof. Okay, actually Waqaf corporate is actually not a branding. I think I like to link dengan presentation Dr. Abdullah yesterday, talking about the independent Waqaf. Yes, we actually independent Waqaf. The only thing is, the difference is how you manage. Are you going to manage through Waqaf to corporate approach, or you want to use so-called government approach, or you want to use biasa-biasa punya approach? Talking about the Waqaf conference is actually, we are measuring through KPI, and then in terms of reward, maybe 3-4 months bonus, and maybe special bonus, but then the return is actually, of course, cannot less than 5%. So actually we are independent Waqaf, but our approach actually corporate, like other corporate, like maybe like Maybank or TNB, whatsoever. So to make sure your asset or I-IECONS Waqaf asset is actually grows tremendously. Analogy something like kelapa sawit. To make sure your I-IECONS Waqaf actually subur, gemuk, tinggi, and then in terms of return, buah lebat maybe 5 tandan, 7 tandan instead of 1 tandan. That's the corporate approach. But I'm comparing to the existing one. For example, our fellow colleagues actually something like Waqaf Felda, Waqaf Holding. But then what they did is actually they put the money in the FD. I can say the investment quite static. no capital depreciation. You can't diversify your investment portfolio. Just put an MD, you can sleep and then get the return after 6 months of year, then you distribute. That's it. But what is your initiative or your innovation to make sure your Ain Waqaf grows tremendously? So that's another thing. Another thing that I want to share with Prof in talking about what Waqaf An-Nur did. Yeah, of course Waqaf Quran, but you first actually focusing on the asset, how we manage asset. Number two, talking about the distribution. The distribution is actually derived from Manfaat Waqaf. Other entities like what they call it, masjid, surau, and then everything. Fund Waqaf, you receive a cash, then you pass buat masjid atau buat tahfiz. But Waqaf An-Nur actually buat masjid, buat tahfiz, buat pengajian waqaf, derived from Manfaat Waqaf. The Ain Waqaf intact, remain intact. So that's the difference. Other entity maybe you receive a cash, you buat surau, buat masjid. That's it. So Ain Waqaf is actually in the form of masjid. But Waqaf actually, Waqaf An-Nur, for example, when we receive a cash or shares, we make sure we invest first. Invest first and then get the higher return. Then from the return baru kita distribute for masjid, surau, tahfiz, kubur dan sebagainya. That's the difference. So all this so-called the traditional asset just now is actually derived from reinvestment, meaning to say from the return instead of Ain Waqaf. That's the difference. Actually talking about branding, we are depending on product. Dana Niaga, we have a branding. Pusat Waqaf Community, we have a branding. Waqaf B, we have a branding. So branding actually based on a product. Branding not based on the what Waqaf An-Nur did. So actually based on product. So yeah, currently outsider maybe said, oh, apa Waqaf An-Nur buat? It's actually a lot from A to Z, from the baby to until ke kubur, until to pusara. But to be frank with you, Prof, dekat ground tu, the demand or request from the needy pelbagai macam-macam. Mu'awlaf datang, dia kata saya nak bagi Baitul Mal, prosesnya macam-macam, dia punya red tape. But ada cerita kan, Mu'awlaf ni kadang-kadang datang pergi ke gereja. We learn from that. Why nak bagi susah bagi pembantuan kepada needy ni. So Waqaf An-Nur buat yang itu. Kurangkan red tape bagi bantuan benda itu. Which I believe doa-doa daripada mereka yang mendapat manfaat ni, inilah yang membantu how Waqaf An-Nur grows benda itu. Tapi I want to strengthen here is actually amanah is very important. The trust is actually very important because when we managing through Waqaf approach, it's actually banyak godaan. To be frank with you, banyak godaan, banyak cabarannya. So a lot of things we need to consider, not only from the outsider, even from Nazir Am itself. So sometimes we have a proposal to the Bursa Malaysia to create platform our so-called something like Waqaf Saham from public, and then Waqaf An-Nur has become a basket to receive any shares from the public. What happens actually, because this is a good idea, so suddenly our Nazir said, why must Waqaf An-Nur? Why not to me? After we deliberate, we discuss with Bursa, SC and so on, suddenly hujung-hujungnya dia nak sailang. A lot of things. I mean, I to be frank here, because maybe I in Bandung, kalau Malaysia I kereta apis, tapi ada rakaman tak apalah, it's okay, whatever. I think hope answered your question, Prof. Actually, if you can sit down face to face, a lot of things to differentiate between Waqaf corporate and non-Waqaf corporate. It's a lot of things.
Okay. All right.
I think that's all the question. Right? Hope not.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bahrin. So I think maybe just a short question from me, last one.
Ada juga.
Yes, ada. Quite interesting actually.
You bukan
the
bicara je.
keynote.
Okay.
So because we understand Waqaf An-Nur is actually established from the initiative from Jacob, right? And then emerged into a CLBG, company limited by guarantee. So my question is, because now you say that Waqaf An-Nur is a like independent Waqaf, but from your models just now when you share, most likely when we saw your model, the beneficiaries or the communities that you engage only in Johor State. So my question is there any maybe in your future plan whatsoever that you see that your community engagement, your product, your model are beyond the Johor State? That's the first question. And the second question is, because your establishment is based on the Waqaf share initially made by the Johor Corporation, where the Waqaf some of their subsidiary share to Waqaf An-Nur. But based on your model that you show just now, I don't know, I personally doesn't see some initiative that maybe you acquire share from other institution or maybe from Bursa and so on to become your Waqaf Ain and make return from that. Is there any also in pipeline which the Waqaf An-Nur or what? Maybe you can share a little bit. Thank you.
Okay. Question number one, let me answer for question number two first. What do you call it? Talking about Ar-Hanu just now, actually we acquired from Jacob through the reinvestment just now. And then another thing, actually we acquired the research center. We acquired the center. And then coming soon, it's actually we acquired the equity in one of the entity. And currently we has been approached 2 or 3 company to sell or they want to harvest, so they plan to sell the shares. So talking about AIN, when we collect cash through Hibah Lil Waqaf, and we receive a cash, we buy listed co actually, especially in the dividend stock. What does it mean, dividend stock? Dividend stock means those they give dividend more than 5% per annum. So, for example, by Islam, Takaful, and so on. So, actually, we already done it for the past 4 years ago. So, we diverting from subsidiary, because when we acquire the shares from the subsidiary Johor Corporation, we deem as a PAC, party acting concern. So, it's very difficult for us to sell. So, anything we need to announce or declare in Bursa. So that's why now we try to buy the shares outside the Jacob Group. So easy for us to manage. So I think, hope they answer the question number 2. Number 1, I have suddenly forgot. What is the question?
Communities, they only focus on Johor.
Oh, okay. I think based on the annual report, if you can check, actually the beneficiaries from the Sabah to Perlis. The only thing, because we are in Johor, a lot of requisition or demand from Johor. So our role is actually to be at the national level. So that's why our program actually, even for example, a clinic Waqaf An-Nur, I think throughout Malaysia. So I think except Terengganu, Melaka, and Kedah or Penang, or Perlis, something like that. So, clinic Waqaf An-Nur actually throughout Malaysia. We collaborating with KVJ, and any KVJ branch, we going to open the clinic Waqaf. Clinic Waqaf An-Nur means the cost just pay about 10 ringgit, but the actual cost may be around 60 ringgit. So the difference has been top up by Manfaat Waqaf. And then for the dialysis, we charge about 130 ringgit, whereby the normal market rate about 200. So the difference also covered by or top up by Manfaat Waqaf. So actually our activities or beneficiaries actually throughout Malaysia, even what they call it, so-called through crowdfunding, we distribute beneficiary to Palestine, Syria, Mesir, Cambodia, Indonesia, and so on. So we need to say it's actually considered throughout the world. The only thing here, when I mentioned just now, the source of fund actually derived from Wakalah Zakat, crowdfunding, and Manfaat Waqaf. Wakalah Zakat, yes, actually is quite dedicated to Johor because I think those Malaysians understood that the respective state, when they receive zakat, only for that particular state. That's why part of the zakat fund actually dedicated for Johorian. But for crowdfunding and manfaat wakaf actually throughout Malaysia. I think to be frank with you, most of the requisitioner is actually from Terengganu and Kelantan, especially from the sekolah-sekolah. Because when I met them, actually when they have a so-called meeting bulanan, they spread the news. You can apply the sponsor from or donation from Waqaf An-Nur. So sometimes I think a lot. Last time during as a chairman of Agen Manfaat 2 years back or 3 years back, monthly around maybe 100 application. But today's monthly around 400-500 application. So what we did actually, we try to be fair with them. The only thing we need to reduce the quantum. Last time maybe they can get 10,000 per application, but now we only give them about maybe 1,500 or 2,000. So thank you very much. My apologies if any what do you call it, terkasar bahasa budi bicara saya kurang elok, mungkin presentation saya agak stres. Ya, from yesterday until now semua stres. Saya pun nak present kat depan pun stres. So sekali lagi mohon maaf daripada saya. Terima kasih kepada USIM dan juga para hadirin dan juga bapak-bapak yang ada di sini. Dan profesor. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Mr. Bahri, you can remain on stage. Okay, thank you, Mr. Bahrin, for the inspiring, insightful keynote speech. Next, we would like to invite Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Syahidawati Haji Sahwan to present a souvenir from I-IECONS 2035 to Mr. Muhammad Bahrin bin Bakori alias Bakri. Please welcome. Dr. Syahidawati and Mr. Muhammad Bahrin. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now continue with the Master Class 3, a practical workshop entitled A Practical Workshop on Shariah Assurance, Limited Assurance versus Reasonable Assurance. For this session, we are honored to introduce our distinguished speaker. First, we will have Professor Dr. Zurina binti Syafi'i, Professor at Faculty of Economy and Muamalat Institute Islam Malaysia, and Shariah community member of several financial and Waqaf institutions in Malaysia. Second, we have Dr. Supiah binti Saleh, Senior Lecturer at Faculty of Economy and Muamalat Institute Islam Malaysia, and a Shariah committee member at the Ministry of Entrepreneur Development and Cooperative KUSKOP. And last but not least, we will have Mr. Tubagus Mansur, Head of Shariah Practice Committee, Indonesian Institute of Certified Public Accountants, IAPI, that will be joining us virtually. So without further delay, please welcome